In today's video, we're going to be going through this week's marquee matchup investments. So just before the video does start, a quick little ad on a trading service I offer over on Twitch. For the cheapest premium trading service for just £4, €4 or free with Amazon Prime. You'll get yourself daily trading and investing guides covering both Xbox and PlayStation with an array of different techniques depending on your budget. I've been trading for over 10 years, making over 100 million on multiple titles, and recently making over 10 million in the first month for the last 3 years. So in today's video, what we're going to be doing is we are going to be going through all the different teams that could be in marquee matchups. We're going to be talking about how well each team would do if needed. So the first matchup that we are going to be going through is going to be Aston Villa taking on the likes of Brighton. Two teams that are relatively decent to invest in. So we start with Brighton, who are actually the better of the two teams to invest in. The reason for that is that they actually only have 12 gold cards that are like SBC fodder, or that would be put in. Whereas Villa have 17 gold cards, and therefore obviously there is another third of supply. Now if I was going to specifically look at the likes of Brighton investments, I'd be looking at maybe the likes of McAllister. I mean, obviously anyone for Discard is decent, but McAllister and Lallana are a little bit better. Mainly because EA have a very, very heavy tendency of requiring 4-2-3-1 when it comes to the Prem. I have no idea why, but almost 1 in 2 or even 1 in 3, they'll always go for a 4-2-3-1. Again, I'm not too sure why. EA just love doing it. Maybe because they're maybe aware that there's a lack of left and right mids, but it wouldn't make too much sense. So McAllister's good because, again, EA love going for the 4-2-3-1. Other than that, Lallana's a nice little investment as well because there is a lack of English Prem centre mids. And when EA require a minimum amount of nations, he can also do well because obviously he'll get a maximum amount of nations. A lot of people go down the England Prem route, and there is a lack of English Prem centre mids. So those are your Brighton investments. And then moving on to Villa, as I say, Villa isn't as good to invest in because they do have another third more supply than the likes of Brighton. If I was going to look at anyone or single anyone out specifically, I'd say Buendia. High rated non-rares can do very, very well, mainly because these are some of the rarer cards, because a lot of non-rares get discarded, so there's already a lack on the market. But on top of that, high rateds are obviously packed way less than low rateds. So the only Aston Villa player that really does stand out to me being a decent investment would be the likes of Buendia. We then move to our first of two Italian matchups. The first of that is going to be Juventus versus the likes of Atalanta. Now, Juventus are really good to invest in because these are the sort of cards that would go to maybe 2 to 3k if needed. The reason for that is there is only 10 cheap Juventus players. So cheap Juventus players are looking at a really, really good investment. The only problem we have when it comes to Serie A is it's kind of like a 1 or 2, so they might not hit. Nonetheless, if I was going to go and single out some players, I'd say Keane's good because he's from the same nation as the league. And then on top of that, you do have the likes of Danilo and Sandro, just because they're very high rated and in positions where the Serie A has a lack of high rateds. You've also got the likes of Sandro and Danilo. You could also go for Rugani and go to the Seglio because of their nation being the same as the league. In the end of the day, because there's only 10 players, if they are required, they are the sort of players that would go and hit 2-3k. We then go to Atalanta, and Atalanta aren't as good. They do have 14 players, so in comparison to the 10 of Juventus, again, it's almost like another third. The good players I quite like would be the likes of Boga. There is a lack of left wings in the Serie A, so even if Atalanta aren't needed, he could still do well. Then get Cooper Myers, high rated non-rare, that works really, really nicely. And then other than that, maybe Sportello because he is Italian in the Serie A. Never a massive fan of buying right wing backs. Oh yeah, Tilio is actually good because he's Italian in the Serie A in a position with a lack of high rated. But yeah, never a fan of buying left wing backs or right wing backs. Very rarely do you find EA going for 5 of the back formations. Therefore, I would not invest in them. Likewise, the CDMs are needed a lot less than centre mids, so I would never really look at going with Duron than Cooper Myers, just because centre mids normally are needed a lot more. Into the next matchup, I do actually have to apologise because I actually got the matchups a little bit mixed up. In fact, the matchup is Juventus AC Milan, and then it's Inter Milan versus Atalanta. So I got them a little bit mixed up, but we'll cover the other two teams nonetheless. Inter Milan coming in as a really, really nice investment. Only 10 golds that are, cheap enough to go and put into marquee matchups. Decent investments coming at Gagliardini, D'Ambrose and Acerbi. And then the other Serie A team that might be in is the likes of AC Milan. Nowhere near as good. 18 players, almost double the likes of Inter, and I think almost double the likes of Atalanta. But yeah, nowhere near as good. Coming in with a decent investments of Giroud, high rated non-rare. Pobega is the only rare Italian centre mid in the Serie A, so he can do well there. And Florenzi also does well, even though there is literally a rare right back, he still does well due to, again, high rated non-rare in a position with a lack of high rated. So now moving on to the La Liga, where we have the likes of Real Sociedad taking on the likes of Atletico Madrid, both bringing really, really good investments. If For Atletico Madrid are great because they only have 9 players that are SBC fodder, with the best investments coming out Sal because he's Spanish from the La Liga and Hermoso because he's Spanish from the La Liga. Real Sociedad have 13 players, but the majority are non-rare, which actually might work nicely in your favour. I'd honestly just recommend picking up anyone who's 400 coins from Spain and the La Liga. And yeah, there's plenty of players to go and buy. I don't think anyone really favours anyone else. But there we go. Atletico Madrid and Real Sociedad, nice little investment. So Len's coming in here with 15 players. Because of the Liga, there's actually lower supply than any other leagues because the Liga is used in the League SBCs. The only player I'd probably favour over others would be the left backs because the Liga does have a lack of left backs. Could also go Traore, but again you are kind of paying double the price of the other discards. But yep, the Liga left backs at the likes of Melling and Truffett would be decent. Then we move into the likes of AS Monaco having 16 players, which isn't the best. But the best investments right here would be Diassi, Aguilera and Sarr, all being French from the Liga in positions where there are a lack of players. And then to end off with the German matchups, I'll be honest with you, I've looked through all of these games and then paired them up with where they are in the league. Honestly, it is just a complete fest of top teams playing against bottom teams. You know, we look at Dortmund and it's literally just first playing against the likes of 9th. You know, go and pick another random team here, a Bochum versus Leverkusen, and again Bochum at 19th and Leverkusen at 6th. For some reason, it's literally just the top half playing against the bottom half, so I don't personally think there's any sort of big points or, you know, big rivalries in this. So, yeah, for, I guess, this week specifically, we are going to be leaving out the Bundesliga, but we are just going to do the top 5 leagues. The reason we're not going to do any of the minor leagues is very rarely is there any money on the minor leagues. You know, it normally just requires like 14 chemistry, 2 players from the nation of the league. Really, it wouldn't be worth your time investing in them. Whereas the top 5 leagues, you know, they can be the ones where they need 1 from each team. We've even had weeks where 2 teams needed 1 from each team. If not, they'll need 1 from either team, which we've also seen stuff do well for. So, yeah, we'll go and cover the top 5 leagues. That is going to be it. In terms of investments, you just sell them when they stop rising after 6 PM. There is a chance the stuff you bought won't be needed because maybe they go for different matchups. Just got to deal with it. A player you bought for discard is going to go and sell for discard, really. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later in today's video. Well, later in today, where we'll go and give you a video on buying the brand new La Liga Team of the Seasons.